Yeah, we're recording.
And Sabrina, are you there? We'll get that sorted. So thank you all of you for the 2 to 3 minutes of hiccup there. To all of my friends over at GoToWebinar, I'd like to give you a shout out. So, we'll get back on track. So anyways, we were talking before about the shift and how the shift in terms of the actual working environment itself has shifted from being one of being stuck inside of an office, or possibly in Sabrina, when she comes back home, we can talk about it. It would be driving to the client site, picking up, at one point it was a floppy drive, then it was a CD, then it was a thumb drive, and so forth, and then actually either doing the work in the office or then moving back to your office to do the work. But now it's really shifted anytime, anywhere, which is actually a good example of what we have here on the call. You've got Sabrina, who's got 3 offices on the East Coast. We've got Carl on the line, who's sitting over there in Atlanta, and I'm working in San Francisco. And when I met with one of our platinum partners, who has an enormously, very solid business model and how he works, his entire team is virtual. And so when you think about what you're going to be doing when you go out in your career and how you're going to be working with your employer, it's going to be less of being in the office and actually being, in your home or out in your local market, but also possibly working virtually with people around the globe. And so, to give some background, what's really driving all of this change holistically? And so I put up a quote here, and I don't know if you know who Mark Andreessen is, but a very, very, very savvy investor, one of the influential folks in Silicon Valley. But he put up this quote, and so you can read the quote yourself. But what's really happened here is that all the technology that's required to transform industries and software finally works. And what that means is, and why cloud and the use of that is important, is what happens now is that in the internet, the dependency on it, the always availability of it, and the savviness of those who actually work on it is so far along now that when you tried to do this about 10 years ago, you just couldn't get all the pieces to work. And what that does then is it allows vendors like Xero and other products out there. We wake up every day and we think about accounting and payroll. We think about how do we build the best products. But we don't think about payments. We don't think about CRM. We don't think about point of sale. We don't think about a lot of the systems that are used in conjunction with a small business. Or even for accounting professionals, we think about the things that are important that we know that we can deliver really well. And we know that the infrastructure that supports that can handle what we do and then interoperate with everything else. So back 10, 15 years ago, only an ERP system that, like an SAP or whatnot, sitting inside of a really large company could really bring all those pieces together. But what the cloud has done, what the internet has provided, is the ability to break that up into more defined bits and then allow everybody to work as hard as they can to put a best-of-breed solution together that a small business can actually put together. And one of the key things we're going to talk about later is the small business doesn't know how to do that. All of you on the call, all of you that are going to be working in accounting professional firms are going to be the ones constructing those best-of-breed solutions and be able to provide all the guidance that that small business owner needs to have to make great decisions so that they can be successful. And the 3 big technology trends that have brought this to bear and that are going to continue to influence all of what we do going forward are these 3 things. And so cloud, we've covered that, we've nailed that, we've hit that one on the head pretty hard. But the second thing is mobile. And mobile is now transcended everything. And what's interesting is if you talk to most small business owners, if you talk to folks like yourself, you probably own 3 devices. You own a laptop, you own a smartphone. If you don't own a smartphone, we should talk. And you probably own a tablet. And so for small businesses, that's because they're always on the go and they're always having to have access to the critical things that move their business forward. So it's not just from a personal context. Now, the social aspect is something that's still emerging. And I feel this audience is the one that's really going to drive that into the business context more. And this is where there's a huge differentiation and an area where if you're looking to get into a practice or you're able to make a mark, a lot of accounting professionals and those in the industry just don't understand that aspect. And so one of the easiest ways to be able to get your foot into the door is to actually do that social work and that context for a practice. because they're really looking at someone to help lead the way, and they just don't know how to do it. And you guys have all lived and breathed that. And again, a 50-year-old or a 60-year-old firm owner just does not, unfortunately, understand how to do it and how to do it well. And so that's transformed what I was talking about before from that old way, where in this diagram here, the work that accounting professionals would do would be to basically get the information from the small business in this static, asynchronous process where you drive down, actually get the physical media, then take it back, do the conversion work to actually get it into something that you want to manipulate it, then do the compliance work, then put it back in the system, and then drive it back over to your small business client. And it's just fundamentally, messed up or screwed, whatever you want to call it. And what's happened is technologies like Xero have really formulated, have really brought a whole new way of working. And that's because we can take all the data and put it in one place. And the small business can access it any time, and so can everybody in that firm that really needs to be able to do what they need to do in the sections that they need to do it. Meanwhile, the accounting professional and the other trusted advisors with that small business can access the same information. And that's not just the financials, it's not just the data, but it's all the source documentation and everything that's needed in order to not just do compliance work, but do advisory work. And that's where you guys are all going to see a major change and a major shift, and something you should keep your focus on, which is it's all moving to advisory services. It's not just about making the numbers equal. It's about what do you do with the numbers. So if I was to push on what you should learn and how you should learn it, it's really what is the key things that you can advise a small business owner on how to be successful. So that starts from financial metrics all the way into understanding trend analysis and so forth. So again, that's when we look forward 5, 10, 15 years, that's really where the expectations of small business in terms of my accounting professional is guiding me to the answers so I can make great business decisions to move my business forward. So take 1 second, because we've kind of moved really fast. Do we have Sabrina on the call? Is she there?
Yes.
Jeff, are you there?
I'm here.
Sabrina, you're back.
Yes.
I've missed you. So again, you've heard a little bit of what I've talked about, and would you agree with that? And what are you seeing? Because again, we're right in this major step change function in the industry.
No, I mean, you're absolutely right. We have changed. It's a big change right now where small business owners, like you said, they have the technology, they're smart. There's no way that I'm going to manually prepare a tax return faster than TurboTax, but where I come into play with my clients is that I really listen to them and I understand what's going on, and I can advise them in a certain way. I'll give you a very specific example. I had a tax client, individual tax client, both of the couple work, and I just talked to my clients and I listened to them, and I know that they had refinanced and had something going on. Now, he didn't have my knowledge as a CPA to know that there was some extra deductions he can take, but by listening to my client and really being in an advisor role, I got them an extra $1,000 back in taxes. So don't get into making the numbers tie and putting in. That's very crucial, but most of our software and technology is doing that now. Where we make ourselves valuable as CPAs or accountants is really being an advisor and listening to our clients and helping them grow their business and giving them the most bang for their buck.
Yeah, and again, the technology, for instance, Xero and other things, they're enablers. But where the rubber meets the road is really the client service and working with the client. And I think a lot of accounting professionals are typically used to being told, but not actually leading. And you've got to lead the client, and that's the change that's really happened, which is listening and then responding, advising, and pushing the small business owner and the business itself going down the right paths. And I think, Sabrina, you've been one of the good examples about doing that. I mean, you guys have a very good relationship with your clients and ultimately able to steer them down the paths that they may not have otherwise known because they just didn't know what the numbers mean.
Absolutely, and that's where Xero really helps out a lot because we're in there at the same time and they can see it in plain English, and then we can translate it even more for them.
So I'm going to keep moving on. So why, what really has really shaped that from a technology perspective? Why should you care about this technology? And really from a Xero perspective, you can narrow it down to really 2 words. This is what's really changed between desktop accounting and online accounting. And it's collaboration and connectivity or connections. And what I mean by connections is it's always been about connecting overall when you think about some of the older systems. First one was really around government. And it was about being able to file a tax return. I mean, the compliance side of the equation has always been prevalent. But the next step of that was back in the 80s and 90s when we talked about these ERP systems, these larger systems was, okay, well, I've got to do the compliance and I've got to work with the government. But for large businesses, they were able to then be able to work directly with government. And they had the pipes and so forth. So this is the EDI sort of time frame in history. Dating myself a little bit because I've actually worked with all these systems. Then in the 90s and 2000s, it was really about, well, let's take that the next step, and it's really about banks and FIs and so forth. So if you think back to the days of Quicken, you think to the days of like Mint.com, you think to those types of things as being an online banking and how pervasive that has become. And so that was the shift change that happened during that time period. And today, now, it's about small businesses interconnecting with all of those pieces. And that's, again, the difference that the cloud enables is all of the small businesses now can afford and maintain and not have to do it on their own dime, the connectivity not only between themselves, but the other small businesses out there, the large business, government, and banks. And so from a vendor like Xero, we can see the entire payments graph across the globe about what money is moving where, who's spending what, how are businesses actually interrelating with one another. It's a fantastic time. And for small businesses, they're able to do what they need to do, and they're actually able to stay smaller and more nimble so that they can be more successful. And so that connectivity is one of the key elements of what the online accounting products provide. And so from our perspective, from a Xero, to give you sort of a flavor of it specifically, it's the connectivity, but it's overlapped with the user interface and the design for the cloud from day one mentality. And the reason, a lot of people ask, well, why is your tagline beautiful accounting software? So we are a design-led company. But what that means is not that on the screen, for instance, every one of these circles is picture perfect and the graphs or the pictures look pretty and those types of things. What beautiful means to us is when someone interacts with our product, we put a smile on their face. And that's different than what others might do in the industry. It is very hard to get that sort of reaction from somebody when they are going to be doing a bank reconciliation, for instance, because they have no idea what the heck it is. And so you have to have the education, the engagement, the gamification, if you want to call it that, to be able to have an enjoyable experience that you want to repeat again and again. And the key is when you can do that, then you educate and you give the confidence in the small business owner that, oh, I can do this. And then when you tie them closely with someone like Sabrina, an accounting professional, so that they can collaborate day in and day out, you've now created a recipe for success, not only for small businesses in general, but even global economies, because that's what really drives nations overall. And so again, that's from a Xero context how it all kind of comes together. And my last slide here is to give you a sense of where the profession is going from a technology standpoint so that you know where the puck is moving to. So over the last 5 to 7 years, it's really about just putting things online. And so that's your multi-user, multi-tenant, anytime, anywhere, any device sort of angle that you'll hear. But the second piece in what I just talked about was that sort of connectedness. And so that's the bank feeds, the online invoicing, payments, mobility, those types of things. And again, we'll talk a little bit about the ecosystem and all the add-ons and how you can create these best-of-breed systems. But where we are right now and the next curve that's going to is really about smarts. And this is about the technology working for you day in and day out and serving up information. And the information it serves up then allows you to be able to take that step as an advisor with more information to work with. And so that's from understanding, again, that payment graph I talked about. What happens at any given moment when something changes and whether or not that change is going to impact something within a business or how you're going to serve that business. Notifications and triggers that ultimately alert when things are out of spec, out of whack, or things you need to be aware of, and then benchmarking across so that you can see how things are performing and how things may need to shift. And so that's really what it's about. And from us as a company, we're constantly moving across those barriers and leading. So there'll be other waves and other changes as we go forward. But that's kind of where we are and where things are going in that sort of 5-year time frame. Sabrina, anything to add in terms of some of the shifts you've seen, some of the things that folks might be aware of before I go into what the heck is Xero, since we've talked about it a bunch?
No, I think you're doing pretty good. I'll jump in when I think I have something for you.
All right, well, I'll get you on this next section a little bit.
All
So
right.
what is Xero? So just so everyone knows, we're the global leader in online accounting. Anytime I do one of these presentations, got to have a graph. It's got to go up and to the right. So there we go. I've done that. So that's our growth rate since we started in late 2006. We've now got 370,000 paying small businesses that use our product. And we've got 12,000 plus accounting partners. So Sabrina's an accounting partner, and we value every single one of them as much as everybody else. And so I really appreciate Sabrina. I appreciate all that she does, and she does a huge service to the small businesses out there. So thank you very much. Where is Xero at? We typically like to pick really idealistic locations, it seems like. So I'm based out of San Francisco. We've got offices in Los Angeles, Denver, New York here in the US. But we're a global company. We were actually founded in New Zealand. So we have offices in Wellington and Auckland. We've got offices across Australia and also in the UK. And so for the purposes of this, we're hiring everywhere. And so you can take a look at our career site. But again, we're growing so fast. We're 1,000 employees now. And what's crazy is it seems like every year things just keep doubling around here, which is great. We were recently named, as we mentioned before, we're the world's most innovative growth company in 2014. We actually earned yesterday, we're the most innovative company in all of Australia. And I actually picked up 2 awards last night for having the best mobile application for our Zero Touch application by Silicon Valley Business Awards. We've got a lot of different, we want to be able to get those awards to show that we're doing the right stuff and to make sure that we're constantly innovating and delivering to our collective customers overall. And so we mentioned before about where the rubber meets the road and what's different between the old world and new world. And for us, we've coined that as being called the single ledger. I mean, we are a double entry accounting system, but what it is one place that has all the information that both you as an accounting professional or your clients can work from. And what that does, I'm going to talk a little bit with Sabrina about how that's also changed how she does things. But when we talked about the connectivity, we call it, it's about bringing all that data and making sure that you don't have to enter the information in. Those days are gone, and our job as a technology provider is to make sure that we can get all the information at your fingertips so that you can do all the fun stuff. For clients, it's really to be able to do the daily tasks on their own, and from an accounting professional is to teach them to do that. And so again, they can understand, for instance, bank reconciliation and why it's so important, because it ultimately drives to great business decision making. And then again, from you as an accounting professional, it's be able to log in and understand where they sit every moment in time. And instead of being reactive with a relationship, it's about being proactive. And so that's a lot of the things that you're going to see when you go out there, and a lot of the behaviors you might witness from other people in a firm is they're waiting for the phone to ring or they're waiting for the issue to occur, versus what's changing now and the expectations of small businesses, I don't want to wait for me to call you. Tell me what I need to know. Let me know where things are going sideways. Help me get ahead of the curve so that my business can be successful and not having to play cleanup. And so that ultimately leads to better outcomes overall. So Sabrina, would you agree with that? And how have you taken Xero into your practice, and how has it changed the dynamic of the relationships with your clients?
I mean, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I had to do a major pivot with my firm about 1.5 years ago when I first came to Xero, and I was looking for online cloud solutions, and in the end of story is Xero won out because it was the best. But what happened traditionally with CPA firms and public accounting is that what we used to do was ask for our clients' bank statements. Maybe they'll get back to us, and I just got frustrated that it seemed like most of my staff and our time was trying to chase down getting the information from the clients. And then when we gave them the information, the financial statements, I mean, at best, it was 30 days later. And, you can't do that in this economy right now. So with Xero, with having everything active with the bank feeds and the dashboard, where he'll get into a little bit more throughout, it allows me to look exactly at what's going on, and then my time is advising, not trying to chase them down and get information from them. And it just helps out so much. I'll give you a very true example. I had a client who was going over to Cocoa Beach to go on a cruise, Disney cruise, and he called me to say, hey, Sabrina, can you tell me if I'm going to owe a lot in taxes before I start spending money on my family vacation? And because of Xero, I was able to go into the dashboard, pull his P&L super quick and say, hey, no, you're good. And then he was driving, and I could tell him that he was in a good position and he could enjoy himself. So it makes me be more proactive and more of a team member in helping my business, helping my clients grow, instead of just being somebody throwing them pieces of paper they don't know what to do with.
So Sabrina, your tagline should be the bringer of peace of mind. So I'm just going to quickly go through this because I'm also looking at time, and I want to get to the questions that people would have. For accounting professionals, for those out there, what this provides you is the efficiency to do things quickly in order to free up that time to do the things that are more enjoyable. It increases revenue. So when a firm is able to get above the data entry tasks, they're able to do the advisory work, which pays way more in terms of the revenue, as well as the appreciation of the client. So it's stickier with the clients overall. And then it attracts a lot of businesses who are looking for those now. And so, again, it helps with the growth. And it's growth not only just in new clients, but it's growth in terms of the services you can do with an existing client, because you can become more involved with what they do overall. And just to get a context of what small businesses love our bank reconciliation. You should check it out. Generally, I give an example, but I'm not going to do it here. But again, that's where the rubber meets the road. From Xero overall, we have that's best in class, and it's one of the hardest things to get a small business owner to actually even entertain. But it's so critical because it gets you real-time cash flow. Files, again, you can get anything from anywhere, place it within the context of Xero, smart list, online invoicing, and the like. One of the things that's happening right now, and hopefully folks like Sabrina are capitalizing on this, but we have other people who have talked about this, is small business owners are again, also getting legs from the personal side of the market, that they're much more demanding. And we're seeing a pretty rapid change here in terms of the desire and want to move to solutions like Xero. And they're actually pushing against their trusted advisors to support them in that realm. Before, if I asked this question 5-10 years ago, a small business owner would just go and ask, and they would steer to whatever made sense. But because the systems they use, their front office systems like Square, maybe Squarespace or Shopify or whatever, some of these other products are so important to their business, they want them to interoperate. And so it has to interoperate with another online accounting product. And so therefore, the flexibility to be running a desktop solution and so forth, it just isn't there. And so this is a reason when you think of when you're approaching a firm and how you can sell yourself, is that you can bring that extra bit of competency and capability to a firm that may not otherwise be able to get there. And that allows them to be able to keep clients, but also attract clients. So again, here's a quote from Bobby Medlin, who's in the Midwest, where he's actually reaching out to the firms, and they're taking on some of their clients just because those firms can't support those clients in that sort of way. And so folks like Sabrina, who's positioned quite well, she's more than happy to help the firms that can't. So Sabrina, have you had situations like that for yourself?
I mean, honestly, the last several clients that came on is because their CPA or the company they're working with didn't want to deal with the cloud or Xero. And then other times is that they just weren't being responsive and being proactive, and they wanted a more advisory level CPA. I mean, honestly, small businesses are pretty educated, so as far as when we get them set up and trained on Xero, it's that easy and user-friendly that they can use it. What they really need is a partner to help them grow their business, and that's what we go to.
And I think a lot of you out there, this is where, and I'm going to talk a little bit later how you can get to that, but this is where you can be a partner for a firm, and you can work with them to help augment what they do and be able to help them take that next step and actually teach them. Because unfortunately, it's a big change for a lot of folks, and they need someone to help guide them. And while you may not think that you have, you may not have, again, coming straight out of college, you may not have a ton of experience, but what you can provide is understanding of things that become harder for those folks. And again, you guys have lived and breathed technology and social. You can get certified in Xero on your own. So there's different ways that you can augment what they're doing. And so for us as a company, it's more than just the software. It's how it all comes together. And so for us, this is one picture that defines it. We actually go out and we talk about ourselves as an online accounting product. The reality is we're actually a platform. And so while the information from a financial perspective all sits within Xero, we're actually sit below 350 add-on applications. Many of the top tech companies in the world integrate with us to be able to have us as the hub of all the financial information that flows through a business. And then on the right side, these are all the tools for accounting professionals that we offer for free. And so this is the practice management tools. We have work papers coming out later, and our partner program and everything else. And then that's also augmented with other sort of add-on like components that help a practice succeed. And so again, the add-ons are a key piece, and this is where the actual industry is changing. It's now about constructing these small business solutions. So having a technology bent and understanding how to put these applications together, which is frankly very easy, but it's understanding what happens where and being able to educate not only a firm, but then a small business on how they can get all of it to work seamlessly. And so all the third parties connect, and there's a marketplace here. So we're showing here PayPal, Bill.com, Cabbage, and the like. And Sabrina, I'm sure that you use some. Which ones are some of the favorite ones that you use with both your firm and your clients?
A lot of my clients use Stripe, Square, Bill.com, and Square. PayPal is big. PayPal, they use that too. So there's a lot of different ones. We even use Unleash for some of the people who have inventory or assembling products. And
it's now a requirement in terms of working with these. And before you'd have to maintain the integrations and whatnot, but now you have to construct and basically educate people on how to work with them as one cohesive system, right?
Correct. Yeah, we had a coffee roaster who wanted to check, when they roast the coffee, it shrinks, and Unleash did that for them. But once you connect them and then show them the process, then they're good to go for their own.
But I think this is an area where someone coming out of college could really be able to help a firm to be able to understand that and then really be able to get deep in that and understand which ones are emerging, which ones they should use and recommend it. Would you agree with that?
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I have a list here. I mean, if you really want to be a superstar and you're starting with a firm and you really want to do it, really learn the software, get in there, and find a more efficient way of doing things. That will set you apart from 90% of the other applicants out there. Because what I've found as far as hiring staff is that most people want a job, but most people don't want to work. So just showing that little bit of effort or that little half a step will put you in superstar status.
Yeah, I totally agree. So just moving forward a little bit, this goes back down to why should you care? Well, I think it's a little bit obvious in terms of how do you make yourself more remarkable overall. But one thing over here, and this is only going to get faster, but the consumption of these changes happens so fast, and it happens so fast now compared to other things in the past. And what it's doing is it's also changing the requirements of the jobs in the market. So you can see here, we've put a few of these listings out here, but those who are, employers who are looking for folks who understand the mobile space, big data, is increasing, while IT managers are dropping, and that's because, again, of the infrastructure and shifts. For all of you out there, again, grasping onto being savvy with the technology and being able to leverage it to the gains of a practice is so infinitely important and changes your marketability overall. And so, again, for me, it's about, and part of why I'm going through this whole talk is again, how do you make yourself more marketable? And one of the ways you can go here, and Carla's the U.S. trainer here, is you can do this all on your own. And except for the certification bit of it, it's all free. And so, we probably could do something in conjunction with this. We'll have to talk to Jeff and Carla. But you can easily go to Xero.com /training, Xero TV, and we also have Xero U, Xero University, that was launched here just recently. But you can watch all of this. They're self-paced. And it's not boring content. We have invested millions upon millions of dollars to make it really engaging and comprehensive and not dry and boring. And so all the tools are there at your fingertips to really be able to get involved and engaged. And again, when you're able to approach a firm and say, hey, I'm certified in Xero, I know this stuff inside and out, I know how the add-ons come together, I have a sense of how I can increase your efficiency in your firm, even though I haven't worked in it, it speaks volumes to what Sabrina talked about how you can position yourself. You do it in a humble way, but it shows the horsepower, it shows the desire, and from an employer perspective, you're looking for passion, you're looking with someone with the capabilities. They may not have done it, but putting those pieces together makes you much more confident in hiring that individual than someone who basically just sends a resume and says, I'd love to work for you. It's that extra bit of effort that separates you from the rest of the people in the crowd. That's pretty much what I had. Sabrina, I mean, would you add any color? I know that we've kind of reiterated the same thoughts, but any other color you want to add there?
Excuse me, I had to unmute myself, excuse me. If you are interviewing with firms and you don't, like you said, do it in a cocky way, but if you bring some ideas to the table, a lot of the older firms out there, you're dealing with a lot of baby boomers who aren't embracing the technology, and they're looking for somebody like you to come into the firm, one, to work, but bring in some new, fresh ideas. So just saying, hey, look, I know this product online, Xero, or even really knowing the product. A lot of people say they know things, but they haven't really worked in it. I would strongly challenge all you guys to get a trial of Xero, but just actually work in there. But just saying that you've tried cloud accounting with one of the most innovative companies, and you know how it works, and you would, if they were open to it, spearhead trying to do that piece of it with the business. That will put you. That shows your passion, shows you're interested in helping them build their business, and those are key words that we as employers love to hear.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, hey, Jeff, I want to turn it back to you because, again, we haven't been paying attention to questions. I want to be cognizant of the fact that we've only got 10 minutes.
You
but,
bet.
You know, we want to make it interactive too. So,
you know, lots of questions. Now's a good time to jump in and do it. And I think that what I'd like to spend a little more time on is tying this together for the students. You know, I had a lot of students sort of jump in and say, "Man, this is outstanding for small businesses," and kind of what's in it for me as a next step. And so along that line, my question to you, Ian, is you showed the Xero U and the Xero training. How do they just get access to Xero to begin with? Is it free just to create an accounting account?
Yep. So for us, we make our money with small businesses. They pay us in monthly installments on subscriptions, $9, $30, $70. And so that's where we monetize. We actually don't monetize on accounting professionals. So all of you can go to xero.com/partners and sign up there. You can also sign up we have a free trial, it's 30 days, but when you sign up to our partner program, you get a free version of Xero for your practice. And in this case, you know, your practice might be your personal accounts. So we have our folks inside Xero actually use Xero for tracking their own personal finances. And so I would use that as a method to be able to learn how the software works, being able to see it with data that you really understand. However, if you don't want to go that route, there's a demo company there that you can access. So again, there's no cost. And again, all the stuff is readily available. You just have to go there to sign up. So again, xero.com/partners. And then for Xero U, for the training and whatnot, it's just xero.com/training. And that's where you can see all the different pieces there. And again, Carla and her team have spent an enormous amount of time on really simplifying things, but we do different training for small businesses than we do with accounting professionals because it's different types of information you need to know, so it's tailored. But you know, whether or not you use Xero or not, it's going to help you in terms of understanding how to work within the context of a firm and then also within the context of the clients. You know, does that answer your question?
Ian, it does, and I was thinking too. They could start doing books for friends now just to give them experience in this product and walk into an interview, being able to say that they understand that, you know, cloud accounting software.
Yeah, one of the things I always recommend, and we do this for all the for product managers inside of Xero as well, is go out and adopt a nonprofit or go help out a friend and do their books, because what it does is it A, keeps you on your game. But B, it gives back to the community, and then you're constantly learning. And so, you know, you can sit behind a computer and hide yourself, or, you know, go out there and make some headway and really better yourself. And to folks like Sabrina, seeing that somebody's actually, you know, supporting someone on their spare time, you know, really gives confidence that this person is a go-getter, but also knows what they're doing.
No doubt about it. I mean, and guys on the call, I mean, this product is free for you as an accountant or an accounting student, and I would I just want to reiterate that point. If you walked into an interview and you were already doing books for a club or for a nonprofit in your city as an interviewer, and you heard Sabrina say it, it would blow them away, frankly, because you would be, you know, I think in the rare few that would be doing things like that. So, Ian, another question we had is we talked a lot about small business. Where does Xero fit with larger companies? Is there a limitation? What's the ceiling for Xero services?
Yeah, so it can handle any sort of number of users, so it's unlimited users. That's one of our key tenets, and it can handle any up to millions of transactions. Where Xero does not fit, and we generally say that we're small business, so 1 to 20 employees. It's not the employee count that's the issue. It's when a company starts to departmentalize, because when a company starts to get these different departments, your permission structure within an application becomes more complex, and for us, that's just not beautiful. It creates a much harder ease of use or using experience, because you then got to denote in an application what every single person can or can't do, and the level of granularity that you have to go to is just not something that we want to focus on. So generally what happens is we want businesses to succeed, we want them to grow, and if they do, then they're going to graduate out of Xero and go to like an Intact or a NetSuite, and that's fine. We satisfy that smaller side of the market. And again, for a lot of you out there, my advice is if you ever start your own company, be focused, focus on a niche, focus on what you do really, really well, and don't go huge and broad, because that will ultimately be a death to your product or a death to your service. And so again, that's where we focus, and we're happy to be there.
Ian, you mentioned a certification earlier, and maybe if you want to bring Carla in, that piqued a lot of questions. How do you get certified?
I think I think it'd be a good time to bring Carla in to talk about that, not because I can't cover it, but she'll give more color. But I know that people have been waiting also to hear about possibly the scholarship, and so she can talk about that as well. So it's kind of a 1-2 punch.
Great, thank you. Yes, we do have certification at Xero, and what we've done is we've offered it in a couple different ways. One of them, if you sign up for the partner program, and you can go out to Xero.com, and in the top right, there's an option up there that says accountants and bookkeepers. So just select that, and you'll see an option there to get started. And our program is free, so you can join the accounting program. And once you do that, you can do the self-paced training, or we have live courses that you attend at a certain date and time and attend online. And if you want to, we can put something together so you guys can get through that one, the live online one, and we can make that available to you guys for free. But it really gives you a deep dive into the application. You actually have course materials and exercises and things, so you really get hands-on with it. And to Ian's point earlier about doing the books for a club or a nonprofit, I've done the same thing. I work full-time at Xero and get to volunteer, if you will, for several different companies that I do the bookkeeping for, and it is a fantastic experience. Even though I teach on the product, being in it every day with real live transactions and data really makes a difference in putting all the pieces together. My degree's in accounting, and that's kind of how I got through school as well. So it is really great to have that hands-on experience, and it brings a whole different conversation to an employer, to Sabrina's point as well. And then I'll go ahead and tell you about the scholarship, since you guys have been waiting so kindly for that. It is a $5,000 scholarship, and the details about that are at this website, so get your pen and paper or your notes somewhere on your phone. It's xero.com/US/scholarship. And all the details are there, but we'd love to have you go online and apply for that. A little bit of an essay there for you to tell us a little bit about your thoughts on cloud accounting and the industry in general. And you got a lot of that today as well. Oh, great, Jeff, you put that in there. Thank you.
Actually, I misspelled scholarship. My apologies. So I was typing it so fast, I'm going to send it back in and actually spell it right this time. Sorry.
I love that, scholarship. It's Friday, everybody. We're trying to have fun just like this.
Okay, did I get it right that time?
Yeah, you got it right.
Oh,
I did it.
fantastic. Great. I'm gonna have to go back to college.
Hey, Sabrina, are you hiring?
Not at this time, no.
But we are.
We definitely at Xero. So again, we're going to take that resume book. But Sabrina, I want to lay off Sabrina.
That's all right. There's another 1,000 or so jobs for entry level on Accounting Fly they can apply to. But I would suggest you get to know this product before you even bother applying, and put it on your resume, for crying out loud, especially if you get the certification, right, Carla?
That's right. Absolutely.
Okay, I got one last question. We may just go 1 minute over, but I think this is an interesting question. Is cloud accounting taking over the accounting profession and causing unemployment?
Is cloud accounting actually, so it's doing two things.
Right.
Massively disruptive. And what it's doing is it is creating a sort of separation in the market for accounting professional firms overall. There's those who are adopting and those that aren't. And what's happening is because of the benefits that it provides, the lower total cost of ownership, the efficiencies and everything else, those who are resistant to change are finding that their firm is losing its attractability with their small businesses and ultimately forcing and pushing them more into just the compliance side of the equation, which is being completely commoditized today. And so that is the unfortunate reality. And it's sad because I meet with accounting professionals day in and day out, and I see some of the baby boomers and those who are a little bit older who are very resistant to change that just want to go off into the sunset. And it's a really tough scenario for them because they either have to spend the extra effort to do it or they're ultimately going to lose the firms. Now what happens is, and this is where some of you come into play, a lot of those folks are wanting to sell their firms off. And so we see a lot of people actually adopting Xero to make their firm more attractive to be able to sell it to somebody else. And they're looking for a quick way to do that. And so that's one way you can augment what they're doing. We also see a lot of folks who are starting businesses in their 30s and 20s even that are taking the opportunity that this provides to start their own firm. So collectively overall, actually what we're seeing is there's not a net loss. There's actually an increase in the number of firms as they become smaller and more nimble from the bigger established medium and large size firms. But you're getting this shift between the generational gaps and just those who are across the change that is now occurring. Sabrina, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, back in the old days, it used to be a big entry fee to get the software because the accounting software esoteric to our industry was super expensive. I mean, I think we spent like $50,000 back in the day. But now you have smaller firms doing cloud accounting, helping out people, and they're working differently. So, yes, it's cutting down on a lot of the old firms, but I think a lot of people like you who may have a job in a firm but may want to moonlight or do something on the side, it's helping you guys also enter the market and be a good service. And ultimately, the small business client who's pivotal to everything that we do, it's helping them out because it's a more intimate relationship. They're not dealing with a big firm where they're just a number and just getting pieces of paper thrown at them.
Yeah, I mean, it really increases the customer service and the engagement level. Everybody wins, but it's, this is what we see also. You've heard the news over the last week, Symantec, HP, firms need to get smaller to be more nimble. And so it's happening across every industry, but it's because of the technology it's able to afford that and how that can actually translate to how you collaborate with others and be connected to others.
Ian, I would add to that as we start to wrap it up here is we had a session yesterday about small firms and the rise in value of small firms for the college accounting major. You think about 75% of partners retiring over the next 8 years. So by the time our audience is 30, there will be a complete handover between the people who own firms today and a next generation. Okay, so there's an opportunity there to define firms, to define your career around your life and not have to necessarily play by the old rules. We listened to a webinar yesterday where a man actually does that in his CPA firm. It'll be on our YouTube channel on Monday. So this is important, and it truly is technology that can boost your resume, whether you buy a firm, own a firm, start to work for somebody like Sabrina or go work even in a large firm. Don't decline it. I'm going to send a link out to the training, and Carla, if you're able to actually send that to all, because I cannot copy and paste that, or maybe we could just actually I can. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to follow up. I've asked a few times, been asked about certifications, and we will send a follow-up link about how you can get certified. And also, we will include a promo code on certification that has a dramatic discount on certification. So that will come from me once I get the promo code from Carla and the team from Xero. Ian, last thoughts, and I want to thank you, Carla and Sabrina, for being a part of this, fighting through our GoToWebinar blow up. But last word is yours, sir.
I just, I think, again, the slide that I had before said your future is bright. I think a lot of you are going to be entrepreneurs. I think what you want to do is go out, work with a firm, get your chops, understand how the business works. And I think, again, to your point before, there is a massive change underway where a lot of you are going to have the opportunity to be able to take the reins of your own firm or be a change agent within an existing one. And so the sky's the limit. It's a great place to be right now. It's just you need to go ahead and seize the reins and make those opportunities open up for you.
Hey guys, thanks so much for being on this. I hope there are many more discussions to come. I think this is too important to not continue to talk about. So Ian, Sabrina, Carla, you guys are awesome. Thanks for being a part of this. Students on the call, we appreciate you too. You'll hear back from me with some information about certifications and some other resources to access Xero and their beautiful product. This concludes today's session. Thanks to everybody. I'll go ahead and end the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.